Who is other? Everyone who is not me is other, except that you look at me and say other. So every sentient being that has ever lived or ever will live is other. Unfortunately, other is a label that we use to justify treating sentient beings with contempt. Other is a label that we use to justify treating other sentient beings with anger, hatred, possessiveness, and all the other negative actions that human beings have managed to inflict on other human beings since beginningless time. And not just human beings, but any other sentient being. So let's look at some headlines from Monday. Customer throws soup at restaurant manager in Texas. There was video with it too. The UK police, blast outside hospital was terrorism. From Mexico, gunman kill family of 5, wound 8-month-old baby. Roadside bomb in Afghanistan capital wounds 2. Southwest employee hospitalized after assault. See, this is what happens when we see sentient beings as other. It gives us a reason to easily give in to our negative self-centered attitude and harm others. And when we do this, we end up harming ourselves. But other is merely a label, like I. You know, the merely labeled I that goes from lifetime to lifetime and keeps us stuck in samsara and keeps us from becoming awakened. So I looked up the word other and found several definitions. Other, denoting a person or thing that is different or distinct from one already mentioned or known above. Other, to view or treat a person or group of people as intrinsically different and from an alien from oneself. Alien is a word. We're used to seeing aliens though. You know, we watch Star Trek and Star Wars and many other movies and shows, and we see, visually other alien life forms. Indeed, Star Trek's mandate was to seek out new life and new civilizations. And in Star Wars, we saw many different life forms, especially the Jedi Knights, who were from various species, cooperating in keeping the galaxy safe. So we're used to seeing them not just as friend, enemy, and stranger, but also as friend and ally. So, who is other? All of us are other to the person across the room. Sentient beings, humans, animals, aliens, male, female, young, old, Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, and all the rest. Americans, Germans, Singaporeans, and all the rest. Democrats, Republicans, and all the rest. Washingtonians, but only because I vote here. Newport resident, Sravasti Abbey resident, you, me. Now I just went from every sentient being in the universe to 2 of us. Labels all, but they're all labeled as other. Even the self-centered attitude that we have is other. It's not merely labeled I that Buddhism says makes us I. If it was, then we wouldn't be able to become awakened. We wouldn't be able to find generosity, loving kindness, compassion, and all the other good karma that makes us be able to, and in attitudes so that we can interact with others along the path. We'd be self-centered all the time. We wouldn't be able to look around and see, how can I help others? Now, the definition that I really have a problem with is other. View or treat a person or group of people as intrinsically different from and alien to oneself. But this is how we treat sentient beings that we have ever known. This is what the Buddha teaches us is wrong and not the way reality really is. The label other that we give to and we assent to in our minds while we're not paying attention is inherently false. And yet there's something inside of us that labels every single sentient being that we see as different from us, and therefore other. And we do this in the blink of an eye. Now, MIT neuroscientists have found that the brain can actually identify something within 1.3 milliseconds. Again, within a blink of an eye. So faster than that blink of an eye, we have looked at somebody, labeled them other, actually given them another label, friend, enemy, a stranger, as to whether they treat us. So when do we become cognizant that we have indeed attached a label that separates us from everybody else? And therein lies the problem. We live in a vast universe that must contain many varieties of life. All we have to do is look at all the varieties of life here on Earth to be able to see this. And we label each and every one of them other. And then we label them as friend, enemy, stranger. And then we treat them differently, depending on that label that we just gave them. But Buddhism keeps telling us over and over again that this is not how reality really is. The real problem starts once we've slapped that label of other and friend, enemy, stranger on them and start treating them differently. That's when we get into trouble, karmically speaking. Yeah. We become attached to friends, get angry at enemies, and are indifferent to strangers. That corresponds fairly well with the 3 poisonous attitudes. And those are the ones that are keeping us in samsara. Yet those labels that we put on others, those change during our lifetime. Friends become enemies, enemies become strangers, strangers become friends, etc., etc., etc. And each one of those labels is false. They are just labels. Buddhism teaches us that we need sentient beings to become awakened. Without them, we have no one to challenge us, no way to work on generosity, ethical conduct, fortitude, and joyous effort. Now, these paramitas give us a solid foundation when we're working with others to create good karma that we need to get another precious human life so that we have the time necessary to become awakened. Paramitas of concentration and wisdom are the tools that we use to help us recognize these labels that we've just applied. And it gives us time and wisdom to recognize reality as it really is. Bodhicitta is doing everything in our power as fast as we can to become awakened for the sake of all sentient beings. And to become awakened in part means to be able to see others as ourselves and stop labeling them as other, and then stop labeling them as friend, enemy, and stranger. We need to stop treating them differently and stop creating the negative karma that keeps us in samsara. And we're not going to get over this anytime soon. Probably not going to get over labeling others until we become a Buddha. It's just so deeply ingrained in us. But that doesn't mean we have to be mean to each other. Just remember those headlines that I read about. What we need to do is train ourselves to see all sentient beings as friend and ally. By using the paramitas of generosity, ethical conduct, fortitude, and joyous effort, along with love and kindness and compassion, we can begin to train our mind to see others as helpful to me, thus labeling them as friend to help us create good karma. There is no other, just all of us together here in samsara. So watch your mind. When you notice it has labeled somebody as other, ask yourself if it's true. Then treat others with kindness. And when you do this, you're treating yourself with kindness and moving towards becoming a Buddha, awakened for the benefit of all sentient beings.